Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you part 16 of What If Naruto Had a New Dream That Will Change Everything. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Awaken the Yellow Rinnegan after his exile, and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King 2, and Anime King 3, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping us support, and yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off as Naruto went to meet Miyaboku, as Zana had accepted Tsunade's invite as they made their way towards the hot springs along with Shizune, as Jiraiya came there peeping on them, as Zana made sure to torture him a bit, and also tease Tsunade. It seems like Shizune had walked in, and Naruto and Zana had made a promise, whoever walked in on them they were going to let them watch, as Naruto used his chains and tie up Shizune, as she was rather embarrassed from the entire thing. Meanwhile, Hidan was trying to escape as he broke his body apart, only for the seal to activate and pin him down to the ground as his chakra started to be seeped away. He thought that there was actually hope for escaping. Meanwhile, Naruto was working on Senjutsu. It took him a while, but he managed to get it down. But the feeling that it gave him was rather strange. Peace. He didn't want something like that. After all, he had still had so much more to do, like becoming immortal. Meanwhile, the Akatsuki found out that Madara was dead, as all of them had a different reaction to that. It actually would have been happy if, well, Sasuke wasn't dead. But a part of him doesn't really care anymore. But Pain was happy. After all, Madara knew where his actual body was and man could come there at any time. But now that he was out of the way, things were gonna be different. As he's gonna run the Akatsuki, like how he wanted to run it, without Madara watching over his shoulders. Zetsu was utterly furious as things was not going according to plan at all. As Obito was now dead, things were all messed up. Meanwhile, the Toads were going to try and fuse with Naruto, but Naruto knew that wasn't a good idea, seeing that last time what happened with Chiu, as she had sensed that he didn't have the Biju inside of him. So instead, Naruto made up a, well, way that he told him that he would be able to gather Senjutsu without their help. They might as well try it, so they let him do what he had to do. So with that, Naruto started to gather Senjutsu as he told them. But Jiraiya was told to summon them back to the village, as he didn't know what was going on, as Naruto left in anger as he made his way home. It was then that the Toad explained that Naruto absorbed nature engine. It would take Mount Miyaboku a while to restore it. The Toads are currently thinking about whether to remove him from the Toad Company contract. They will have the answer in 2 days. When Naruto got home, as Zana saw the new appearance, as the nature engine inside his body was twisted, as it, well, resorted to a form that twisted a bit with the Kyuubi chakra, seeing that Zana was inside of him for the entire time. And Naruto got a new features, with black markings running around his eyes and also his arms. Activating that with his strength seal, Zana was no match for him as he pinned her down. As the both of them spent the entire 2 days in utter bliss just sleeping with each other. As Tsunade had said on Anfu Bai, let's just say Yujiro didn't expect this at all, as she made a promise to never ever go back there. Tsunade was quite furious to what Naruto was doing. When he explained what he was doing with Zana for the past 2 days, it surprised Jiraiya and Tsunade. 2 days? Really? So yeah guys, that's basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across to the place and check it out for yourself. So this will begin this new episode. Tsunade pinched her nose. Why couldn't you just say that you made love? Or something like that? Why did you have to describe it in such a way? Trust me Tsunade, said Naruto. If you saw what happened, you'd agree that we were raping each other, said Naruto. As Tsunade had to resist the urge from punching him. As Tsunade looked at him for several long moments before she spoke. What the hell is wrong with you, she said. Nothing is wrong with me, Tsunade, he said. For my drill is a drill that pierces the heavens, he said, as he made an over-dramatic pose as he pointed at the sky. In case you haven't figured it out yet, my definition of heaven is between Zana's legs, he said, another grin. As Tsunade looked at him stupidly, before she spoke once again. I repeat, what the hell is wrong with you, she said. Naruto snickered at her. He was in a good mood today, despite his lack of sleep. Meanwhile, Jiraiya was writing his notebook quickly. That was great, he said. May I use that? Be my guest, said Naruto, but make sure you give me credit, along with 10% of the profit that you make from the book. 10%? That's way too much, said Jiraiya. I didn't give you any crap for using me in your book several times already. So either give me 10%, or you're not allowed to use that line in your book, said Naruto. I'll think about it, Jiraiya mumbled, as he mumbled something else about disrespectful students. Can we get to the goddamn point of this meeting, said Tsunade. She was seriously gonna kill these two perverts one day. Why the hell was so many of the people she was close with perverts? Why? Hey, don't be mad at me, said Naruto. You were the one that started this conversation. Will one of you just summon Fukasaku already, said Tsunade. Seeing that she was going to go into a punching rampage, and he knew that he would be the end of one of those receiving punches, he went through hand sign as Jiraiya summoned Fukasaku. It was about time, Jiraiya-san. I expected you to summon me hours ago, the toad said. Sorry about that, Paul. We had some delays, said Jiraiya. Well, the toads have come to a decision about Naruto-chan. The toad trailed off once he laid eyes on Naruto. As Naruto raised the eyebrow at Toad. What? Naruto-chan, what you have done, he whispered. Huh? What are you talking about, said Naruto. The natural energy you absorb. What have you done to it, said Fukasaku. As he could see the Reaper Deck seal that was visible on Naruto, it was modified. The two Sani, Jiraiya in particular, was surprised at Fukasaku's voice. It wasn't out of the ordinary for the old tool to be cranky, but he sounded serious and angry. Well, you said that you sensed it changing, so I sped up the process, said Naruto with a shrug. He didn't see what the big deal was. To this, can you even go into Sage mode with the engine being warped like that? Sure I can, it's just not the Toad style Senjutsu. Not the Toad style Senjutsu? Jiraiya and Tsunade said, in confusion. Go into Sage mode for me then. I want to see what you've done. Fukasaku said that sigh, as the things that he was sensing from Naruto right now leave him deeply disturbed. With another shrug, Naruto released the blocks of the Senjutsu chakra as he balanced it with his own chakra. The chakra seemed almost eager to return to his own. The three of them stayed quiet as an aura of pure menace started to leak from Naruto. Slitted, gold-orange eyes and black markings. What do you think? It's great, isn't it? Said Naruto as he brought one of his hands up to show the deadly claws that were on his fingertips. The two Sun and the Toads felt like they were going to be attacked at any moment. It was like Naruto became a predator, and when he spoke there was a deep growl to his voice. Jiraiya and Tsunade had a pretty good idea why Fukasaku had been so upset earlier. He must have sensed how far Naruto had deviated from the teaching of the Toads. This must be the exact opposite of what they were teaching him. Great? You think this is great? Fukasaku said. Well, yeah, said Naruto as he was confused. He honestly did not understand what the old geezer was so upset about. This is a perversion of everything I taught you. A perversion of everything the Toads stand for. You took almost all the natural energy that Miyaboku had and corrupted it. The old Toad yelled at his former Senjutsu student, unable to keep hold on his temper for too long. But it just made Naruto angry as well. I did not corrupt anything you see now. All warped. This is just what feels the most natural to me. You're just pissed because it's not what you want me to learn. Do you really think that I'm that petty? You have no idea what you've done. What kind of sacrilegium you've committed. Sacrilegium? Said Naruto. You're talking like natural energy was something holy. All it is a life force of everything that's ever lived and died in this world. Don't be so goddamn dramatic. Look at you, a sage for less than a week, and you already think that you know everything. How arrogant and conceited can you be? There is more to being a sage than exploiting the power it gives you. This so-called sage mode of yours is an insult to every sage that ever lived, and a disgusting violation of nature. The Toad Elder shouted angrily. Naruto was trying to stay calm for this point, but he had enough of this shit. Well, I don't give a damn what an old senile bastard like you has to say. You spent so long on that mountain catching flies with your tongue. You can't accept that I did something different. I hate the Toad style Senjutsu. It always felt wrong. This feel right, and I don't care if I had to dry well your Senjutsu energy to do it. If I could go back, I'll do the exact same thing all over again, said Naruto. The two of them glare at each other as Fukazaku held onto his staff, and Naruto looked like he wanted to swing at the old toad. Naruto Uzumaki, you are no longer a toad summoner. His name has been removed from the toad summoning contract immediately, Fukazaku said, as he vanished back to Mount Miyaboku. As Naruto snarled at the spot where the toad was, sounding like one of the giant tigers in the forest more than a man, he only spared the two sons a glance before he stormed out of the office. As soon as he was gone, Tsunade and Jiraiya collapsed in a chair as they wiped the sweat from their foreheads. That was curious, said Tsunade as she pulled out a bottle of sake. She drank some before passing to Jiraiya, who did the same thing. Yeah, said Jiraiya. I think I may have made a mistake when I offered to meet Naruto learn Senjutsu. Really? What was your first clue? She said sarcastically. Jiraiya did not react to her tone. He knew that was just how Tsunade was coping with it. She had always reacted to anger first. What are we gonna do with this now? She said. I don't think there's anything we can do. We can't make him unlearn Senjutsu, and despite how much that outburst of his scared me, I don't think that Naruto would turn a traitor, said Jiraiya. But his eyes, they look so much like Orochimaru, said Tsunade, as she worried that her fellow blonde would go down the same path. Orochimaru was a friend and teammate, someone precious to her, and yet he turned out to be such a monster. She didn't want that to happen again. I know. All we can do is hope that doesn't happen. But what if it does? I hope it doesn't because I'm not sure if I can bring myself to kill him. To be honest, I don't think I'm capable of it anymore, said Jiraiya. I'm not as strong as I used to be, and he's in the prime of his life. Know that he's fully mastered Senjutsu, and know how to keep it actively. He has a big advantage against me. I don't think it's gonna take him very long to figure out how to power up his ninjutsu with it either. Tsunade said nothing. Her main thing was her super strength, and Naruto could overpower her without even using Senjutsu. She couldn't even imagine how strong he was now. He had the strength seal like he developed from her. I know he had Senjutsu add on top of that, and not to mention he knew how to open some of the 8 gates. If Jiraiya felt that he couldn't beat Naruto anymore, then she had zero chance at all. If Naruto ever turned against him, they would probably have to throw everything that Konoha had against him, and he would probably take them down fighting to the end. Not to mention his healing reserves, and his vast chakra. Speaking of Sage Mode, Jiraiya, does it grant any kind of increased healing? The Toad style does grant some of it, but not much. Do you think this strange Sage Mode of his does as well? Probably more than Toad style, said Jiraiya. If I understand correctly, then Naruto has pretty much adapted the nature engine to himself. So it wouldn't surprise me if it boosted all of his natural qualities, such as strength, toughness, and his healing factor. So we're basically supposed to hope that he doesn't go Orochimaru on us. Because if he does, we can't stop him, said Tsunade, as she rubbed her forehead. Yes, but fortunately, I haven't seen him done anything beside this argument to think that he will ever go down that path, said Jiraiya. The both of them went into silence, just drinking together, hoping that everything would turn out alright. Unseen, a small insect left through a tiny hole in the wall, never drawing their attention at all. Meanwhile, Naruto made his way to his basement as he was going to check up on Hidan. Naruto knew that blowing up at Fukasaku like that was a mistake. Losing your control like that, your emotions, it was always a mistake. If he couldn't control his own self, then he couldn't control anything that was happening around him. No doubt that outburst had kick-started some dangerous thoughts in Jiraiya and Sandame's head. It seems like his new Senjutsu style had some pitfalls because normally he would make some perverted comment or act ignorant. But he was challenged, and for some reason his blood was boiling, and he wouldn't back down at all. After that, he went at Zana with a vengeance to calm himself. She had been happy to accommodate him. She was even happy to know that she could calm him down that easily, and that blew away the rest of his anger. What happened after that could be called making love instead of that wild, intense thing that had been going on for the past couple of days. After finally getting some sleep, he decided it was time to check upon his immortal guinea pig. Good morning, Hidan. I hope you're not too stiff from being dead for the past 2 weeks. As Naruto moved into the room without concern after he deactivated the phone jutsu traps, Hidan had been rather underwhelming before he became a sage. He could probably beaten down his index finger at this point. But then something strange happened, as something slammed into him that was faster, stronger than Hidan, as then everything went red. Meanwhile, Danzo listened word for word as Toru told him the events that went on in Tsunade's office a moment ago. It had been wise to have a spy bug present for that meeting, but it couldn't be a daily occurrence. The only bug that was suitable for a spying type was a queen type. It had a 6-hour lifespan, and the queen was rare. The queen offspring just lived for 10 minutes, making them unsuitable as spies. It took most of that time for the bug to get into a good hiding spot, and, well, they were gonna eventually expire, so they were worthless. And the Kyuubi Jinchuriki almost ruined that spying effort by being almost 4 hours late. Danzo was infuriated enough to think that the blonde had knew about his spying and did it on purpose, but then he heard it was because of the Uzumaki Lobito. That is why he was late. But Danzo being paranoid was justified though. There has been 5 attempts on his life so far, and they stopped once the Uzumaki went to Mount Miyaboku for Senjutsu training. None of these were clever as the first one, but they always self-destruct, leaving no evidence. All of the seals carried that unknown chakra signature, leaving nothing to tie the Uzumaki to it. But the assassination attempts were rather strange, as he knew he couldn't tell Tsunade about it because she would just, well, try a way to think that Danzo was trying to get Naruto under his thumb again. After all, she knew he tried that in the first place. Like, for example, an explosive tag in his mail. The root agent that opened that letter nearly had his hands removed, as it was a miniature force seal technique. The only reason why he was still alive was because Danzo ordered him to open it with some ninja wire. The last one was worse though, because it was more for insult than anything else. The Jinchuriki had sent him a cake. The delivery man hadn't known what was going on, or did he know who the sender was? He just described him as a brown-haired man, average size. It was clearly a transformation technique. The cake was wrapped in a box that they spent a long time opening rather cautiously, only to find out it was an ordinary box. Inside the box, it was a card that said for Shinmira Danzo in an elegant handwriting. Throwing kunai into it, it revealed that it was a perfectly ordinary chocolate cake. It was just an insult. And if he brought up that to suspicion, that would just make him look paranoid. Someone that was throwing kunais into a cake that was a present after his near death in the council chamber. Even if it did lead to Uzumaki, he could just blow it off as one of his jokes. After all, there was no thing to hold him to that because it was just a cake. Danzo had burned with desire to strike back, but no opportunity had presented itself, and he didn't want to kill the blonde anyway. But after hearing what transpired in Tsunade's office, he knew that he would have to put the Kyuubi Jinchuriki down. It was a shame that a powerful weapon like that would be lost to Konoha, but it was better than having a loose cannon run around to go off and betray the village. Tsunade and Jiraiya were aware of his worrisome behavior, but they planned to do nothing about it. Of all these stupid ideas, they just intend to hope that he did not turn out for the worse. Well, Danzo saw that Uzumaki was too powerful to left unchecked. So yes, and he couldn't be manipulated, and he always find a way to escape his attempts. So he will have to be put down. Meanwhile, Naruto crashed into the wall. He knew that Hidan was going to try something, but the attack was far too powerful from a weak Hidan. Hidan had bomb rushed him with his shoulder, and he was pulling back to do it again. Reacting quickly, he smashed his elbow on Hidan's back. But the man did not crumble down. Hidan's shoulder slammed him into the gut, driving the hair out of his lung. But he was in sage mode, so it didn't really, well, impact that much. As Naruto got his opening as he smashed Hidan across the room, as he seems like he dismissed him as a threat too early. But something was wrong. As he looked at Hidan, his eyes were glowing red with no pupil or iris, just a mass of crimson. His new sense of smell was also telling him that there was something wrong about Hidan, but he had no experience with a powerful sense of smell to figure out exactly what happened. Hidan, Naruto asked carefully, never letting his guard down. Guess again, human. As Hidan grinned, as Naruto saw his teeth becoming sharper just from looking at them. What the hell? A recent conversation he had with Zana came in his mind. Flashback. Hey Zana, do you know anything about the Order of Jashin? Naruto asked. Oh, those demon worshipping morons. The only thing I know about them is that they're all retards, she said. Jashin's a demon? Naruto asked. He was a demon, she said. Some human or other killed him over 400 years ago. It may interest you to know that the wielder used the Kusanagi to kill him. But why would anyone worship him, said Naruto, setting aside that information about the Kusanagi for the moment. Well, Jashin was one of a handful of demons born from a Jobi cast flesh that survived the battle of the Sage of Six Paths. It was alive long enough to develop sentience. Unfortunately for everyone, it was a predictably evil and power sentience. Jashin wanted to take the Ten-Tails' place and become the second Ten-Tail god. He was so arrogant, and he ended up finding a group of morons to worship him, for them to believe that he would turn them immortal. Did you ever meet him? Naruto asks. Unfortunately. He approached me and tried to convince me to go along with his plan of his. Of course he said it like he wanted to make me the new Ten Tails, but his obvious lust for my power, well, that gave him away. I burned one of his arms off and left him screaming in the mud. Naruto was quiet for a moment, before another piece of information came to his mind. Wait, didn't you only say that demons can become sentients if they have massive amount of chakra like you? Well, that only really applies for the Bijus, Jashin. And demons like him has true physical body from the very start, while Bijus like us had to create our own from raw chakra. Since they don't need to divert their power into creating bodies, they don't really need time for them to gain a proper sentience and be aware. But all the one I've encountered, they were slaves to their own hatred and power. Jashin was the only one that ever developed some kind of cunning sense. In the flashback, Jashin said Naruto, well. It seems a human is smarter than he looks, said Jashin as Naruto see that his teeth were no fang. They were crooked. They seem unsure which way they should be growing. Aren't you supposed to be dead, said Naruto. Oh, I see, the fox bitch has been keeping you well informed, said Jashin as his silver hair started to fall out. Naruto face tightened at the insult towards Anna, but didn't react towards it. No matter how much you want to pulverize this guy into peace, this was something unfamiliar to him, and he was operating blind here. It is suffice to say I found a way around inconvenience like death, said Jashin as he saw that Naruto wasn't going to react to the insult. So Hidan was only immortal because you were possessing him, said Naruto, as he saw Hidan's body was changing rapidly. The muscles were becoming bulkier, and Hidan was becoming taller. I guess Hidan, my most fanatical and idiotic follower, so eager to serve, he accepted my spirit easily, not even stopping to think what will happen to him afterwards. I really must thank you. If it wasn't for that seal of yours, nullifying his chakra, it might have taken me decades before I could devour him. Jashin had somehow separated his spirit from his original body and find a way to possess bodies and devour them. If the chakra blocking seal helped him do this, that means that chakra slowed him down somehow. Jashin saw Naruto was thinking. He used his time as he charged forward. As Naruto caught his arm though, his strength was still greater. But Jashin launched his head forward, sinking his jagged teeth into Naruto's chest as he ripped out a huge chunk of flesh. Naruto roared in pain as he threw the demon away. As he pressed a hand against his wound, it regenerated quickly. Jashin didn't charge forward. Instead, he chewed on the flesh and swallowed it. What a powerful life force. My strength will increase tenfold once I eat you, said Jashin, as he licked the last of the blood from his lips. Naruto glared at the demon Jashin's transformation had picked up as soon as he had swallowed that piece of flesh. As Naruto pulled out the Kusanagi, the weapon was created to destroy demons and has somehow destroyed this one before. That will not help you, human. I have evolved beyond this sword, Jashin said. We'll see about that, said Naruto as he channeled chakra into the blade as it glowed bright blue. As he moved towards Jashin cautiously, not wanting to get surprised again, Jashin concentrated a blade of bone shoot from his forearm and form a sword. As Naruto swung the blade into the bone blade, damaging it only slightly. As he realized he made a mistake talking to the demon, it was able to change Hidan's body into what it is now. A short exchange as Naruto realized that Jashin was stalling. He was defensively fighting, prolonging the fight, nothing more. Seal of Power activates, said Naruto, as Naruto smashed the bone blade into pieces with his own Kusanagi blade, as he sliced right through Jashin's arm and then sliced through his neck. The now severely ugly-looking thing crumbled to the ground, seemingly dead. As Naruto remained tense, he didn't trust that it was that easy. He was proving that as the head and the arm disintegrated and reforming the body, rapid regeneration. I told you that wasn't going to help you, Jashin said, in a mocking laughter. A concentrated blast of chakra blew Jashin towards the table that Hidan had been tied upon. As, unlike Hidan, Jashin was bleeding, but that didn't seem to bother him much. Well, if it isn't the self-proclaimed Queen of the Demons, have you come to defend your latest toy, Your Majesty? Naruto is not a toy, worm. I'll do more than just burn your arm off this time, said Zana, in a rather cold tone, as her tails came out and waved behind her, as her hands were already glowing. So you have lowered yourself that far. To belong to this human, first you've fallen. To be stupid enough to get sealed, and then become this Jinjulki whore. Do you pay for your freedom with your mouth or your ass, said Jashin. Naruto shot forward as he had enough, as he was going to slice him into pieces. But Jashin was counting on that as he smacked Naruto out of the air. Instead of trying to attack Blonde though, Jashin launched forward towards Redhead Demoness. Zana knew that Naruto wouldn't be hurt by something like that, as she aimed her palm to disintegrate Jashin. She had no idea how he was regenerating like that, but she figured that he would die if his body was completely destroyed. Her eyes widened in shock as he grabbed onto her arms. He was unaffected by the heat. It was then that she felt her chakra being drained. She tried to pull away, but somehow she couldn't muster strength to do it, even though she should have been stronger than him. "I'll make much better use of your power than you ever did," said Jashin. As a crimson chakra cloak started to form around him, chains ripped through his chest and yanked him away, forcing him to release her. He was now large as Naruto, and he was cloaked in a red cloak of chakra. The two of them viciously engaged in a brutal fight, as Naruto started to beat into Jashin, as he would not get past him to Zana. He had lost to Kusanagi during his flight, and he was fighting with his claws and fists. "Use Senjutsu, Naruto. It should work on him," Zana called out. As Zana was leaning against a wall, having her chakra drained like that, it disrupted her shape, and she nearly lost her human form. As Naruto questioned her as he charged his claws with Senjutsu chakra, he had no practice with it, but hopefully it would be simple enough. But it was. As he sliced into Jashin, he noticed something: the wounds that he gave him with the Senjutsu claws took longer to heal, but it still wasn't enough to kill the demon. The both of them locked arms as they started to fight for the strength of dominance. As Naruto was still stronger, "It's no use, human, you can't kill me. I'm gonna drain your whore over there dry, and then I'm gonna eat you. Isn't it wonderful? Your healing factor will keep you alive, so you will see while I rip your flesh off and devour you. You won't be doing anything anymore," said Naruto as chains shot from his shins and wrapped around Jashin's legs. As soon as they were tightened, Naruto stopped holding back his strength as he snapped Jashin's arms. Chains came from his body and wrapped around Jashin's arms, tying them to his back. As he shoved his hand into the demon's chest and started to shape a Rasengan that was filled with sage energy. Jashin roared with pain as the nature energy ripped his chest apart. The natural energy caused him actual pain. Despite the hole, though, he was still alive and he was healing, just very slower than before. Fortunately, Naruto control with Senjutsu seemed better than his regular chakra control, so the Rasengan did not blow upon him. As Naruto knew that he had to do something else, as he stabbed his hand right into Jashin's stomach. He flowed the natural energy out of his arm and right into Jashin's stomach. This was dangerous because the only way to manipulate nature energy was to stay still, even if the one in his seal had become rather cooperative. If he tried to do this with natural energy drawn from the environment, it would have ended badly. Jashin convulsed as he slumped down, at darkness flying out of his mouth and flying into the wall, like it wasn't even there and it was gone. As Naruto retracted his chains, as he looked at the body. "You're still an asshole, Uzumaki, but thank you." As the body slumped and a faint mist left the body. "Hidan?" Naruto breathed out in surprise, but he received no answer as the body turned into stone and broke away. That cursing was quite familiar, but the thank you threw him for a loop. If he somehow had to guess, Hidan, soul was kept inside the body by Jashin's spirit. The raw natural energy removed Jashin, and Hidan died right afterwards, as the immortality was no longer sustained. As Naruto saw the red chakra leave him, the broken stone body, and returned to Zana. "Are you alright?" As he held her hands. "I'm fine," she snapped. She couldn't believe she let Jashin, a mug like that, got better of her, and now he was fussing over her like she was a helpless girl that needed rescue. Naruto flinched away as he looked hurt at her harsh tone. "I'm sorry. I was just worried," he said. She calmed down as she could feel that he only wanted to make sure she was okay. As she sighed, she hugged him. "I'm sorry for snapping at you, beloved," she said. Naruto simply held her tight, without saying anything. They stayed that way for a while until Naruto broke it with a teasing tone. "So, self-titled Queen of the Demons, huh? I was much younger and rather drunk on my own power at the time. It's not like there's any demon king to rule over," she said, as she grumbled in his chest. The reminder of how she was full of herself back then was not something happy she wanted to remember. As Naruto picked her up bridal style, "Well, royalty shouldn't be so dirty, so please allow this humble human to bathe you," he said. They were both rather messy as a Rasengan had splattered blood everywhere. "You may proceed," she said. To the way he was holding her, she did not see the look on his face. Aside from Jashin being able to steal her power, there was also something she sensed within the blonde just a moment ago. Something that concerned her. She will have to get to the bottom of it immediately. Time skip, a month later. Wind style, great wind breakthrough. Naruto grinned as he saw the powerful wind uprooting several trees. He could finally use ninjutsu. Well, it was the most absurd ninjutsu. Simple, just blow out wind. Not to mention he used it at the lowest amount of power he could possibly conjure up. And it was still stronger than what most shinobi can do. But at least it did. It was one of the two that he could use at the moment, the other one being the water release, water encampment wall. Though in his case it was like spitting out a river, because he couldn't control it enough to make a wall out of it. Unfortunately, his abilities had signs. It sucked really bad. In the past 10 years, he probably only made at least 4 hand signs, and he didn't remember most of them. Well, he was still happy about it. It was because of the nature injury circulating through his coils. It was a rather funny situation with his facial features when his sage mode was activated. It seemed rather permanent now. Civilians gave him a wide berth, and a good bit of regular shinobis were scared. The Inuzakas always knew when he was there, as the name dogs would run for their life, whimpering. Actually, all the animals in Konoha were doing that. Cats, dogs, mice, any other critter that happened to be around. Only small things like insects seemed to ignore him. Seeing animals running for their life from him, it hadn't made things really better. The general consensus was that he was just waiting to come into people's homes at the middle of the night and eat their children. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Hinata, Tenten, Sakura, they all tried to convince him to drop out of sage mode when he didn't need it, to stop causing panic attacks. But Naruto really didn't care. He had no plan to go on a murderous rampage, and if people were too stupid to see that, they can keep on shitting their pants for all he cared. As he didn't see any disadvantage of having sage mode up all the time, it improved everything, and not to mention, he had already conquered that, well, anger that came with it. The only strange thing was, the sage engine did not leave his coils the few times he dropped out of it. He shrugged it off as another side effect of having to contain his body, instead of returning it back to nature. If it wants to stay melded with his chakra, he wasn't going to force it to go back in the seal. It can stay where it is. Zana found his sage mode to be a turn on anyway. Speaking of Zana, she has been acting a bit odd for the past month. Every so often she go to the library for a couple of months and read something. She hadn't wanted to tell him what she was reading, so he didn't pry. They haven't figured out anything about how Jashin was able to steal her chakra or separate his spirit from his original body. They both had a feeling that he wasn't dead yet though, so they might run into him once again. But now that Naruto knew what worked on him, it wasn't so dangerous. Jashin was scared because they had no idea what he was capable of or how to defeat him, but now that he knew, and they will need to be aware of his element to steal a Bijou chakra. They doubt that he could take a Bijou chakra from Jinchuriki, so Zana was the only one that he could go after. And she would not attack him, she knew better. It made her angry she had to avoid someone beneath her, but she understood. His month was over now though, as he wanted to learn how to control sage mode better. Well, he just wanted to be near Zana to make sure she was okay. But she sent Mama and Link. It was like a mind hug to tell him that she was alright. But that was over and it was time to report the mission. Time skip. He didn't even know amount of time now. He was wondering why Tsunade sent him on this mission. It was a rather simple mission with Team Asuma. Not that he had anything against them, but it was that, well, he didn't really know them well. With every other team, he wasn't really familiar with them. It was a rather simple mission, escort this rich guy to Water Country, where he was going on a vacation. The man seemed to think that he was important and he was paying for an A-rank mission. Or maybe he was fidgety because Rice Country, and the sound was rather close. Either way, Naruto really feel that having him a part of this mission was overkill. Team Asuma, who was back to full strength because of their sense recovering, could have handled this one on their own, so why was he here? As it was, things were tense. The client, Naruto really didn't catch his name, kept on flinching, as it looked like he wanted to make small talk, but he kept on flinching every time he caught sight of Naruto's eyes. Ino was, well, reluctant to say anything, as she was still giving him a cold shoulder ever since she almost got molested by Zana. Choji, Shikamaru and Asuma seemed relaxed enough, but Shikamaru and Asuma seemed tense. He could smell it. Everyone had to throw themselves to the ground because of the onslaught of shuriken Asuma tackling down the client. As Naruto caught one of the shurikens, he hadn't seen it well when it was flying through the air, but when he caught it, it was not regular. They were shaped like snowflakes, and one of them had caught him. Strange, considering that when he was in sage mode, his skin was tough like iron. They were also not made of metal, but some strange crystal. Meanwhile, back at Konoha, do you think we're doing the right thing, Jiraiya? Said Tsunade, as she was holding on to a bottle of sake. I don't know, said Jiraiya. I don't think he'll betray us, but I can certainly say that it looks bad. He's scaring the village half to death with that sage mode of his, and he's not doing anything noteworthy. If only he would just agree to turn tough, said Tsunade in frustration. The village seemed to have gotten over their hatred and fear of him, but now he's being, well, antagonistic. I don't really think he is, said Jiraiya. I just think that he doesn't really care. They scorned him when he was young, but now that he is powerful, and they know that he's a son of two of Konoha's most revered shinobis, They started treating him with respect. People that fickle are simply beneath his notice. Tsunade's side, she was already aware of that already. I was thinking of making him Hokage, you know, she said. Didn't he tell you already that he had no interest in that? Yeah, but I was sort of hoping that he would come around, she said. I don't think I ever see him come around for anything, said Jiraiya. Yeah, me neither, she said, as the both of them lapsed into silence. It went on for a few moments until Jiraiya spoke again. You said you were thinking of making him Hokage? Yeah, before this fiasco with the Toad and Senjutsu training, but now people are too afraid of him to accept him as a Hokage. It's really too bad, because I think he will be the perfect candidate for 6th Hokage with some training. A slightly strange one though. Slightly, Jiraiya said in a sarcastic tone. Alright, a very strange one, she said. I'm so glad that Minato's strangeness never come out to the public. As Tsunade snorted a bit, what did you want named your second again? The flying dance, hollow, spinning spear, crashing through the earth, said Jiraiya, as he faced palm. Minato really didn't have, well, good knacks of coming up with good names when it comes to jutsus. It's a good thing he had Kushina around to put her foot down when it comes to those ridiculous names. Yeah, otherwise he might be the most dangerous laughing stock in the elemental nation. Tsunade's sighed. It feels like we're betraying his parents by doing this, she said. I know, but we're not doing anything out of the ordinary. All we did was ask Shikamaru and Asuma to keep an eye on him for his suspicious behavior, said Jiraiya. We also sent him on that bogus mission. He should figure that out, because he wasn't in need for that mission to do this. And the council is gonna keep on asking for something like this until they get something. Something that proves he's, well, bad. Yeah, I know, said Jiraiya. And you and I both know that Naruto isn't stupid. He's gonna figure it out, and we don't know how he's going to react. He might just blow it off, or it might make him angry, said Tsunade. I know that too. But no matter how minor the council is justified asking about something like this, especially when it comes to a shinobi loyalty. Naruto would have been justified leaving the village after the way he was treated when he was younger, but yet he's still here. And those old buzzers think they're taking the high ground. I'm honestly not sure why you still keep them around if they cause you so much trouble, said Jiraiya. For the most part, they have the best interests of the village in heart, and they do work good as counselors, but it's just when Naruto is involved, they become completely stupid. Even Danzo, said Jiraiya. He's barely released a peep since an assassination attempt. This one was entirely Homura and Koharu's idea. Yeah, it does seem a bit too minor to be Danzo's idea. That old mommy usually involved people dying. That is why I think that he wasn't involved, said Tsunade. And you sent Team Asuma with him just in case there was more to it, so that they could back him up. Pretty much, I couldn't send a team that he was too familiar with, because they would claim that the observant shinobis were being too objective. Meanwhile, laughter could be heard. It's been so long, Naruto-kun. Orochimaru greeted like they were old friends. You know, I was actually hoping that he would crawl under a rock and die somewhere, said Naruto. Now, is that any way to talk to the man that gifted you with that sword, Orochimaru said, with a small scowl. That's funny, the way I remember it, you tried to kill me, but you had to run off and leave it buried in my chest. Perhaps, but in this world, that is close to a gift wrapping as you will ever get. As the two pair of slitted eyes stare at each other for a little while longer, both of them guarded and cautious. I'm assuming that this entire mission was a setup, so that you could get at me. Orochimaru didn't seem surprised that he was a sage, nor did he seem shocked that he wasn't a Toad sage. Yes, well, you certainly figured it out quick. Konoha has betrayed you, as it awfully do to those they cannot control. Team Asuma remained silent so far, knowing none of them could match the snakes on him. However, Shikamaru believed he had to speak up, or risk Naruto thinking that Konoha set him up to die. Naruto, that is not true. The Hokage only asks us to keep an eye on you and report any suspicious behavior. The mission was supposed to be Naruto raised his hand, stopping him. I know that Tsunade didn't do this, it isn't her style. But she was manipulated to send me here, while this manipulator informed Orochimaru where I'll be. My, you're certainly much smarter than they give you credit for. Why not join me, Naruto-kun? Konoha is clearly unworthy of you, and we can do so much great things together. Team Asuma thanks for the answer. They didn't really believe that Naruto would do something like that, but if he did, all of them are good as dead. Nice try, but Tsunade has a better set of taste than you, so I'm gonna have to decline, said Naruto. Well, considering that she's a woman and I'm not, that would indeed be the case, said Orochimaru. Yes, you are a woman now, Orochi-chan, said Naruto. There's no need to lie to me. I can smell it. As he tapped his nose. I see, a most useful ability, but not quite as good as the taste, emotion in the air. As Orochimaru stayed still for a moment, As horns grew from his head, the purple marking around his eyes started to shift a bit as they came down, lines on his cheeks. I see. So I'm not the only one that has been upgrading, said Naruto. Indeed, I finally found a bot that was strong enough to handle Senjutsu, and it was under my nose, ironically, for the past couple of years. As Orochimaru's tongue extended as he licked his lips. You know, there's actually something I'd love to learn from you. Oh, do tell, Orochimaru said. Thinking that perhaps he could sway Naruto over to his side after all, Team Asuma started to sweat, as the ears seemed charged with violence, and this turnaround from Naruto was not setting good with any of them. That extended thing you do with your tongue. I really want to learn it, said Naruto. Orochimaru blinked in surprise. People usually call this ability disgusting if they comment on it at all. To hear that someone wanted to learn it was pretty surprising. Dear, I asked why you want to learn it. I don't know. Do you, dear, said Naruto. As Orochimaru felt like he wanted to roll his eyes at a juvenile response. This was the kind of things he might have expected from Jiraiya when they were still friends. Why do you want to learn it? Well, simple. I've always wanted to shove my tongue deeper into my woman, said Naruto. Team Asuma. Face dropped, wondering why they were surprised. Well, it appears you won't join me. Well then, let's get this battle started. I do want my sword back after all. Guys, get out of here, said Naruto, without looking back at the team. You can't be serious. You can't fight him alone. We can't abandon you. Don't be so troublesome, said Shikamaru. The fourth of them responded, as he prepared himself to a battle of the death. But before they could move, Naruto turned towards them. This is a battle between sages. If you get involved, you will just get in the way and become collateral damage. As much as Asuma would like to deny it, Naruto had a good point. Despite the fact he was older and more experienced, the blonde was much stronger than him. If they tried to get involved, they would get swept away like flies, or be killed by accident, as the two combat monsters fought. Enough information has gone around for them to know that fighting a sage was a rather suicidal attempt, unless you had a sage mode or a trick card of your own. He's right, we need to get back to Konoha as fast as possible and summon reinforcements. But Sensei eat no protests. It's troublesome, but we really just be collateral damage in this kind of battle, said Shikamaru. Meanwhile that was going on. Should we kill those weaklings, Itachi? No. They do not matter, Itachi said. They were hidden a great distance away, out of the sensory ability of the sages. Zetsu had informed them that Naruto left Konoha with minimum backup, and he came to inform them they were disobeying pain by doing this. Well, Itachi didn't really give a crap. And also, Kisame thought that the Kyuubi Jinchuriki was his prey. Neither one of them knew why Zetsu came to tell them about this instead of pain, but neither of them really cared. The unbound gold had already been sealed, but they had led them all over the Earth country, and Pain captured Orochimaru by himself, leaving only 4 Bijus left capture. The fact that the Sandaime was still napping at the ocean was a problem that none of them, well, could think about to get around, but it could be done. Moreover, Itachi didn't care for the Bijus or anything. He was just here to kill Naruto Uzumaki. With his little brother dead, all the sacrifices he made were now worthless. The only thing he had left was his loyalty to Konoha, and he could perform one final act before disease took his life. By killing Naruto, the Kyuubi will go with it, and the world will be safe for whatever years it takes to reform. Additionally, he would also revenge his little brother by doing this. They're going for reinforcements. The only one that will come to fight Orochimaru is Jiraiya of the Sandaime, Kisame said. Usually, he was the one being reckless, so it felt very strange for him to be warning Itachi about possible danger. It will take them too long to return to Konoha. By the time Jiraiya's army gets here, it will all be over. In truth, Itachi hoped that Jiraiya get here in the last moment to finish off a weak Kisame and Orochimaru, as many of Konoha enemy will be dead right there and then, because he know that he will be long dead by then, if you say so. So do we attack them now? Asked Kisame. No, let them fight each other first, to weaken each other with their attacks. Kisame shrugged, feeling a bit disappointed. He wanted to test himself against one of them at full strength. Meanwhile, you know, I've been actually looking forward to this. Haven't got a proper fight to test out my new Senjutsu yet, said Naruto with a grin, as he flexed his arm. Yes, I've been wondering about that. How did you manage to create a new, entirely Senjutsu style? Asked Orochimaru. Oh. Full Jutsu is rather awesome, said Naruto, as he smirked. Most impressive. I should have not dismissed you so easily. That time in the Forest of Death, Orochimaru said. It seems I'm not the only one using a seal to stay in stage mode though, as he knew that short moment of staying still wasn't enough for Orochimaru to stay in stage mode for this long. Indeed, this is the ultimate purpose of my current seal after all, Orochimaru said. I have seen and deconstruct that seal of yours, and I have to say it really sucks, said Naruto. I can make a better one if I want to. Are you sure you will not ally with me, Naruto-kun? Together we could unravel the truth of this world and become true immortals, Orochimaru said. One last time. He didn't really believe that his offer would be accepted though. He was angry in the blonde and killed Sasuke, but he got over it. Things didn't go as he used to plan. Naruto's ability to create a whole new senjutsu was fascinating, and he would have loved to work with a blonde to find out the secrets of this world. While that does sound tempting, I don't trust you, and the world isn't big enough for the both of us anyway. As he launched towards Orochimaru and swung his claws, with every intention of tearing Orochimaru to shreds. Orochimaru leaped back as he flung a volley of crystal shurikens towards the blonde. They struck him right in the chest, but they did not tear his chest open. They just penetrate a small trickle of blood fall, before completely heal over as shurikens fell to the ground. Naruto sent his chains towards Orochimaru. The man twists and turns in strange ways a human body should not twist and turn in, as he spat a stream of water at them. That confused Naruto. It was like his chains were any less dangerous because they were wet. But Orochimaru then grabbed them and pink crystal started to form over them, as the chains got trapped in a crystal. As Orochimaru formed a crystal blade and launched forward in a stabbing motion, given no choice, Naruto severed the captured chains, as it took a dip in his reserves, severing his construction he made out of chakra. As he brought to the Kusanagi and blocked the slash, as they engaged in a Kinjutsu battle. As he swung the Kusanagi blade as he got into a blade lock, as Naruto had came out on top because of his superior strength. But there was a crystal creeping up the Kusanagi blade, as he pushed and slashed Orochimaru in the arm, as Snake Freak jumped back, as the blade turned into a crystal club. The crystal release. A truly wonderful bloodline, is it not, Orochimaru said, with amusement in his tone, as Naruto simply cursed in his mind. From what he could see, Orochimaru could crystallize anything physical. He drenched the chains in water because the chains himself was a chakra construct, but he could crystallize the water because it was physically there. So he shouldn't use anything water-based because Orochimaru could just turn to crystal. Raw chakra and wind techniques, of which he only had few. But he figured that Kusanagi shouldn't be disabled so easily. Well, given who had created. So he smashed it against a nearby rock with a tremendous amount of force. But the legendary blade shattered, leaving only the hilt and a jagged piece of metal. Both of them looked at the blade. Orochimaru not believed that Naruto had actually done that, and Naruto didn't believe that it actually just break. Naruto felt a pull on his chakra though. The Kusanagi then regrowed back to its original state. A smirk came on his face as he gripped it. So I guess it's time for round 2, huh? But guys, if you end up so right here, if you want to see the next part of what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember to share to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Awaken the Yellow Gun after his exile, and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro.